More, we take you back out to the site where the lead analyst of the NFL on CBS, Tony Romo, is waiting a mile high. And Tony, you know I never want to put you in a spot, but I need your perspective on those penalties down the stretch that helped the Broncos move the ball into chip shot range for Will Lutz.
Well, yeah, by definition, you could call penalties on each play in a lot of ways, especially in the one-on-one situations down the field. I just thought it was more about Denver taking the shots and not trying to just be safe and nickel and dime. And we talked about it going on to that drive, and I just thought they did it perfectly where it's like they're going to put the onus on the officials and on the player because Buffalo can't give up these little 10-yarders, 5-yarders stuff, so they had to play on the inside edge of these receivers and force you to do something that most teams wouldn't always do. I mean, Buffalo, 5 turnovers. I mean, you can't win these games there, but they almost did. And Sean Payton, that was a masterclass. Each time a guy got hurt, he went and attacked him. He did it with Savage at the end of the first half. Threw a rollout all the way back, take on the player who doesn't play a whole lot. As soon as Jackson comes in for one play, takes a shot, double move, touchdown. I mean, it was just exceptional for their timing. It
was a vertical attack throughout against this league-best pass defense, and Bo Nix is the one that's got to make those throws. I'm glad you bring up before half because Romo Damas strikes once again from your lips to Bo's arm, and then the dot in the fourth quarter, Tony, vertically to take the lead here for the Denver Broncos. What did you make of the clutch factor of Bo Nix in the biggest moment of his young career?
It was impressive, and I think these are the games that kind of change the pantheon of where you're going to rate quarterbacks and stuff. I mean, we're not putting him at Josh Allen's level yet, but I can tell you he did it all year. He was battle-tested. He showed the propensity to actually come up big in clutch moments, and he's thrown some great balls in key situations all year long. But it's a whole other thing to come and do it in the playoffs. And I felt like today he did rise to that level. He started the game off on fire too, and I thought that was key. And you know, it just showed that he's cool under pressure, and then to come out and do it at the end, I mean, that's what moves you up the ladder, and we'll see how far they go here. I mean, he goes on and wins a Super Bowl. He rises up 5 notches, and I mean, this same thing Joe Burrow did. When Joe Burrow went and knocked off Josh Allen, and then he goes and beats Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow became Joe Burrow. This could be happening to Bo Nix right now.
It's the game that changes the way they say your name. Unfortunately, we're waiting for that final distinction for Josh Allen, whose season comes to a close in heartbreak once again, Tony. And over the years, we've sat here and we've done this and tried to put it into words. I can't help but zoom all the way out and look at the guys that Josh Allen is trying to win this game with. I asked you all season if he had enough, but he's targeting Mecole Hardman and Brandon Cooks in the late stages of this game. Respect to those two gentlemen and their effect on this game, but how much do you just put on roster construction this season for Buffalo?
It's really more about the injuries. The roster construction, you can only spend money in so many ways. I think the offense had the ability to control most games on the ground, and they rushed it well today as well. 24 rushes for Cook for 117 yards. Josh had 12 rushes for 66. So they ran it as well as anybody against Denver. The difference was just the turnovers. You just can't give the ball away that many times. And a little bit that's on Josh today. This is the first time I've ever seen him really do that in the last 5 years. So to me, you know, you got to look inward. But I mean, he has so much on his plate. It's just a heartbreaking loss for him that I know will eat at him like a lot of the others. But this time a little bit's on him just because of some of the turnovers, and I think that eats at you more sometimes as a quarterback.
Tony and the crew can leave that do not disturb on the door. We know where we're playing our AFC title game as the Broncos play on. Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, and Jim Nantz will bring us the latest as we appreciate this stop always on HQ. Tony, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right, so a wild one, and again, a wild end to the season for the Buffalo Bills. Man, there is no easy end to a year for anybody, but this Buffalo team, they really have a way of pulling at the heartstrings of those who love them the most. We now know the Denver Broncos, your top seed in the AFC, will play back in studio with the fellas as we once again detail heartbreak for the Buffalo Bills, but this moment does belong to the Denver Broncos. We saw big-time plays by a bunch of players on both sides of this one, but we must start there with a flag late in this game. Bryant McFadden, I know you often see pass interferences through the defensive back's lens. How could you not? What did you see on that final one?
Forget the final one. Let's go to the one before the final PI on Johnson. I mean, he was there. When it's a bang-bang play, I think you should allow the players to play football. And with the Teron Johnson PI, clearly he was right where he needed to be at the right time. They threw a flag there. Now, granted, it was personal foul. They declined and they accepted the PI call.
So they were getting 15.
They were getting 15 anyway. But it already kind of told you the mindset of the referees, right? If it's anything within question, they're reaching for it. Luckily enough, we got a chance to see that mindset on the very final play, offensive possession for the Denver Broncos with Trey White. And it was a horrible ball. Let's keep it real. It was a air ball. But when you look at the play in real time, how can you determine that there was PI in real time? So when we look at replays, we get a chance to see it from a slow motion effect where you can say, oh, yes, but it's a bang-bang play. And we knew going into that overtime victory, everything would be heightened in terms of mistakes, player mistakes, coaching mistakes, and referees mistakes. In that moment, if it's not egregious, let them play football.
All right, we got the defensive side. Does the quarterback see it the same way?
Look, I got to take my quarterback lens off for a second, and just when you look at these calls as a fan of the game, it's hard, right? You don't ever want a game to be dictated by a yellow flag. You want the players to go out there, have final say in what's going on. Now, credit to the Denver Broncos. They did everything possible to win this game, forced 5 turnovers by the Buffalo Bills offense and did everything they could down the stretch and down in overtime to make plays. Bo Nix made some clutch throws, and they converted a lot of third downs late there in that second half and in overtime. But just in terms of the penalties, I mean, look, as a quarterback, you're Bo Nix, you love it, but if you're Josh Allen, you hate it, right? So there's a fine line between, do we let these guys play or do we throw a flag here because we really think this is a PI?
Yeah, the referees would say that we're going to call it. It doesn't matter the moment of the game. It doesn't matter that this is a playoff game or a regular season game. If we see to the letter of the law defensive pass interference, we're going to throw a penalty. We know that that's not necessarily true,
exactly.
Right? When they say that, right? Or else you would throw DPI on Hail Marys, right? Because there's always DPI that's happening on a Hail Mary. We never see the flag come out on that because we understand what the construct of this play is. And so in this moment, does Trey White get to the wide receiver early? Yes, he does. Because it was a poorly thrown football, right? It was severely underthrown and hung up in the air. And so as Trey White is chopping down, he is restricting the left arm of the receiver. That is true. However, do you call it in that moment? B-Mac, Ben, you guys make great points. Ultimately, they did. And I think, Ben, you make an even better point, which is that if you are the Buffalo Bills, don't turn the football over 5 times. And if you don't turn the football over 5 times, perhaps you aren't in this position anyway. The team that made more plays, I believe, ultimately won this.
I think that's fair, and it's unfortunate that a game and a season in some sorts gets decided on a couple of judgment calls by referees. Once again, letter of the law, we saw what we saw, but in those moments, tough flags to throw. My question is exactly that. How do we even find ourselves in this moment? The team that got here by protecting the football gives it away 5 times in this game and still has a chance to win in overtime.
Yeah, it was really impressive, and it is because this is still a championship caliber team, the Buffalo Bills are. But I can't say it's a championship team, right? We're going to keep talking about hope and potential with the Buffalo Bills. That is all that we're going to talk about with them all off season, and it's rinse and repeat. And yeah, a lot of folks are going to be talking about this final play. This final play did not doom the Buffalo Bills. They lost this game when they turned the football over 5 times. When Josh Allen, he got strip sacked. When Josh Allen threw 2 interceptions and Brandon Cooks had his candy taken from him. And why is Brandon Cooks being the guy that you're having to rely upon? Well, because you don't have a wide receiver, because you had to pick him up around Thanksgiving. Like, there are so many things that we could talk about with the Buffalo Bills so far beyond that one defensive pass interference at the end. You turn the football over 5 times in the playoff game on the road, you will lose that game.
You will lose. And I understand we talked about the penalties, and Buffalo Bills, their fans will feel some type of way, deserving so. But you shouldn't have been in that moment. Because think about this. To JJ's point, you had 5 turnovers. You still scored 30 points on the road against that defense. So you still scored enough points, but because of those mishaps, you gave the Denver Broncos extra possessions. And for Josh Allen to be as great as he is as a quarterback, you cannot be that careless with the football.
In the first half.
In the first half, when you look at the 3 points that the Denver Broncos fell into, if they don't get that 3 points, we don't even go to overtime. Buffalo win this game in regulation. The end of regulation, they will win this ball game. You cannot carry the football like it's a slice of bread.
Yeah. It's an unfortunate end to the season. And unfortunately, another innumerable heartbreak for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. His overtime record just gets another one on the loss column as Allen falls to 0-7 here in the overtime period. It's 0-7 all over. It's 0-3 now in the playoffs as Allen and the Bills could not muster enough here in the divisional round on the road. 5 turnovers, a task too tall to overcome as Buffalo season ends and Denver will host a conference championship. And for